When I grow up, I want to be like Elle for two reasons. One, he's weird and he doesn't care who thinks he's weird. And two, he's always eating sweets. What do you mean that's not a good enough reason? Hey y'all, this is Carla, and this time I'm here to talk about a little bit of anime, a little bit of movies, a little bit of Netflix, a little bit of everything really. But before I start on today's topic, I want to make an announcement. I am going on vacation next week. I'll be traveling outside the country, and you guys know how much of a hassle traveling is these days. I probably won't have time to record any videos, let alone upload them, because I don't know if I will even have internet or how fast it's going to be. I don't know if I'll even have time to do any of that stuff. So for the moment, I'm going on a bit of a hiatus until I return back home next month, meaning I should be back with a new video somewhere around August 12th. I know it's almost a month from today. I'm going to be out for 3 weeks, and I'm just leaving a little bit of leeway to get all my prep ready for traveling and then coming back and dealing with jet lag, so I'm just gonna give myself a month to come back. I hope you guys stick around with me. I might be able to upload short little videos about cool geeky stuff that I run across on my trip, but I can't promise anything, so I'm gonna try my hardest. If I have internet, if I have data services, I'm gonna try my hardest to give you guys something while you're waiting, but I definitely won't be able to have like a sit down talk about stuff for 45 minutes type of video. That's the announcement. I hope you guys are still here when I come back in August. I'm gonna have a lot of cool stuff to tell you guys about, so hope you stick around. I just want to let you guys know so you don't start wondering like, where did I disappear off to? I'm just on vacation. Anyway, today I'm gonna talk about something that I think it's a very complex topic. It has to do, like I said, with anime, it has to do with movies and Netflix and tons of stuff that are very dear to my small, loving, geeky heart. One particular anime series that I've always really loved, and that's Death Note. Netflix announced maybe a week ago or so who the cast for their new adaptation of Death Note are going to be. Netflix is making a Death Note movie rather than a series, but they have now announced their cast. And a lot of people have opinions, which is okay because that's basically what this vlog is about, right? Having opinions, so who am I to complain? But a lot of opinions have popped back up. And it's not necessarily just about Death Note either, it's about other casting notices that have been announced recently and some casting choices that have left most, sane people a little bit scratching their heads. Always, when Hollywood takes a story from a certain culture, say, for example, anime or manga, which are Japanese, born in Japan, basically. When Hollywood takes one and adapts it to a movie or a series or whatever it might be, in the United States, they of course make a lot of changes to the cast. A lot of the characters don't look the same or don't act the same. But recently, there's been a very disturbing trend of whitewashing when it comes to Hollywood movies. I mean, this has always been a thing. It's never not happened. Whitewashing is as old as time, really. But you would think that we're now in 2016. You would think that maybe by now we would have learned how wrong it is. The Death Note casting once again brought out cries of whitewashing, especially, the main character is going to be a white dude, female lead, she's also a white girl. This is a story that's Japanese, so a lot of people immediately went up and arms saying, hey, whitewashing, I'm not going to support this. I am a firm believer that whitewashing is wrong. I hope you guys all know that, because whitewashing is wrong. It just is. However, I don't think that just because something is adapted from a manga or an anime, that means that everybody who is cast should be Asian. I think you have to look a lot at context, at what the movie's trying to represent, and is it culture specific as well. So when people ask me, how do you feel about the Death Note casting? I'm like, okay, it looks interesting. I'm not screaming at the heavens that this is just complete whitewashing. I don't think it is. But I also think that this is a very special case. There is whitewashing out there. Nobody is denying that. And this is something that shouldn't happen anymore. But then Hollywood comes up with stuff like Exodus, Gods and Kings, where they're trying to pretend that like Christian Bale and Sigourney Weaver are Egyptians. And you're like, in what world? Why would you even? Or you have stuff like Gods of Egypt, which again, poor Egyptians, they're just totally being shafted this year. It's just, why would you cast someone of one ethnicity to play a character that is from another ethnicity? It's just wrong. That is plain out whitewashing, and it's wrong. Hollywood, we shouldn't have to be talking about these things anymore. We shouldn't have to be talking about boycotting. This is something that is just common sense. I mean, I love Christian Bale, don't get me wrong. He is my, future husband number 2. But why would you cast Christian Bale as an Egyptian? Well, in Moses' case, he was a Hebrew, but whatever. Not a white dude. Why would you cast Christian Bale to play someone who is not a white person? It's just wrong. However, I also do think that as an aspiring writer, I am a fan of story. I believe that literature and storytelling in general should tell us something about ourselves as a person. It should have a message. It should be something that we can relate to at the same time. And I think the idea of telling a story is that it touches as many people as possible. However, there are some stories that are just very culture specific. That's undeniable. I mean, you have stuff like, I would never adapt a Rurouni Kenshin to a Western setting because it doesn't work. It's so specifically tailored to the culture of Japan, their history, the way that they behave. It's so specific that you might as well just make something completely different and slap Kenshin's name on it. If you tell me today that you're making a Kenshin movie, setting it, I don't know, in Iowa, whatever, and casting all white people in the roles, I'd be like, that makes no sense whatsoever, you're a racist. But then at the same time, you have stuff like, for example, the Attack on Titan movie. There was an Attack on Titan movie released last year. I watched the first part, the first half. Honestly, I didn't like it. I just don't think that Attack on Titan is something that can be adapted in a worthwhile manner to live action. It's just, if you see the way the animation works and the things that they have to do, it doesn't translate to live action, especially not with a limited budget as they did with this movie. So I didn't like the movie. I felt they changed too many things that didn't make sense. But apart from that, I did feel, especially with Attack on Titan, that there were some things that they took from the context of the manga and the anime that made the movie lose some of its charm, some of its appeal, some of its layers. For example, in Attack on Titan, despite the fact that it's a Japanese manga and anime series, it's written by a Japanese person, it's set in a very Europe-centric type of town, and in fact being Asian in Attack on Titan is a special thing. Like, Mikasa is Asian, she's descended from Asian people, and she's different. There's something about her that makes her exotic, and that features very prominently into her backstory. And all of that was lost in translation with the live action movie because everybody was Japanese. It works both ways. There are certain stories that, despite being written in Japan, you kind of lose something in the translation if you cast everybody as a Japanese person. On the other hand, you have movies like, for example, Howls Moving Castle, which is one of the best Studio Ghibli movies out there. I mean, I love Howl's Moving Castle. It's so great. It's adapted from a book written by Diana Wynne Jones. She's British, So when you watch Howl's Moving Castle, despite the fact that it's an animated movie, animated in Japan, it's anime, basically, despite the fact the setting is very much European. Why? Because taking out all those European elements would have caused the movie to lose a little bit of something, a little bit of the charm that made it what it was. On the other hand, you have something like Spirited Away. You can't take the Japanese out of that. It would make no sense. There are some stories that are very, very specific to the cultures that they come from, and you have to respect that. Again, you can't cast Christian Bale as an Egyptian, or as a Hebrew posing as an Egyptian, or whatever you want to say about it. You can't, because the Egyptianness of the story is what gives it the charm, so it makes no sense. All of that said, I do believe in adaptation. I believe that the best stories out there are the stories that resonate not just with a certain group of people, but that resonate universal. That is what you want in a story that you write or that you tell your children, you want it to stay with them forever regardless of their culture. It should be a story that just resonates with you because you're human. Stories like that can and should be adapted to different cultures and different countries and different locations so that they reach as many people as possible. It's kind of the same thing as adapting a movie or a series or a book to a different era. For example, you have Sherlock Holmes, which is very much quintessentially a 1900s story, yet it has been adapted to modern times and it's been done beautifully. For example, in the TV show Sherlock, it's been done fantastic, and it doesn't lose what makes Sherlock Holmes who he is. However, it reaches more people. It brings something that was great in its original form to more people who then go on to know more about Sherlock Holmes. That's a great thing. It's the same thing with different cultures. If you have a story that resonates in Japan, but you can take it from the Japanese setting, move it to a different setting altogether, and win over everybody in that new setting, that's a win. That's a win as far as literature, as far as storytelling is concerned. If you do it respectfully, of course. For example, you have stuff like Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice was adapted into a Bollywood movie, Pride and Prejudice, and people love that movie. It resonates with the Bollywood community as well. It resonates with them. It's still the story of Pride and Prejudice, but it isn't happening in Victorian England anymore. It's something that resonates with other cultures. If we never did adaptations of this type, we would never have, say, the Magnificent Seven. Magnificent Seven is just an adaptation of Seven Samurai set in the Wild West, or Mexico I think it is, set in the West, dealing with cowboys and stuff. And of course there are some racist elements in it. It was the 60s, so there was a little bit of that. But overall, people like The Magnificent Seven. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, at least according to the AFI, for example, who put it in their list of the top 100 movies of all time back in 2000 or something. If adaptation wasn't a thing, if we couldn't successfully adapt one story that is universal, which is lawmen protecting the defenseless, you wouldn't be able to go from a Seven Samurai to a Magnificent Seven and do it so well. That is a thing that is valid. That is a thing that should happen. So, in that sense, do I think that all manga and anime needs to be adapted in a way that the entire cast is Asian? I don't think so. I think you can do it in a respectful manner, respecting the story, but still setting it in another context. That said, the context has to make sense. Going back to Christian Bale, don't tell me he's Egyptian. He's not Egyptian. I can see that he's not Egyptian. You'll have other stuff as well. For example, there was a lot of a hubbub about Doctor Strange back a few months ago, because the Ancient One, a character that is an old Asian guy in the Doctor Strange comics, in the movie is going to be played by Tilda Swinton. I enjoy the idea that he can be a she. It's kind of cool. Marvel has explained, for example, their explanation was that the Ancient One isn't so much one person, but kind of like a title that gets passed down to different people, and this time it just happens to be a Celtic woman. And I'm looking at them like, really, Marvel? Really? Because, okay, I'm fine with the Ancient One being a Celtic woman. I have no problem with that. I love Tilda Swinton. I think she's going to be great. But if you're going to make the Ancient One a Celtic woman, then maybe have her live in Ireland instead of Tibet. That was the part that bugged me about the trailer, because you see Tilda Swinton, indeed she's a Celtic woman, she's white, she's a Celtic woman, but she's living in Tibet surrounded by Tibetan imagery all over the place, and I'm like, why? Couldn't you just cast a Tibetan? Or at least an Asian person? Try to make it at least close. So yeah, I have nothing against Tilda Swinton. I have nothing against them changing it up. I like this idea that the Ancient One is kind of like a title that just gets passed on and on and on. But I wish the context would pass on with the title. If you're going to make him a woman, and a white woman at that, make her stay in her context. Can't Celtic people be mystical? Why does everything mystical have to be in Tibet? If you're going to go with those changes, then go with those changes, but do it right. Don't just pluck someone from one culture and one ethnicity and set her in a completely different culture, because you end up with the gods of Egypt Exodus situation, which is wrong. There was a lot of talk about Ghost in the Shell as well, because they've taken Ghost in the Shell, which is, again, a manga and anime, and they've cast Scarlett Johansson in the lead role, and a lot of people are just like, No. The lead should have been Japanese or at least Asian. And I get people's urgency about it because this is yet another lead role that Asians are not getting. It's like Asians just aren't being considered for those roles. I get it. With Ghost in the Shell, the thing is, I haven't seen the movie. I think the only thing we have so far from her is just like one picture. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what the context will be. My position is this. If they take Johansson and they keep calling her Motoko Kusanagi in the entire movie, I'm out. That's wrong. I mean, please, God, please, just, sure, use Scarlett Johansson, whatever, but don't try to pretend that she's Japanese. Do not even do that. Change her name, change the city that she lives in, change the context as much as possible, and then you cast her in the lead. But if at any point she gets called Motoko, I am so out. That is just wrong. And, you know, those rumors that they were trying to make her look more Asian with CGI, that's just terrible. However, I don't know what their intention is, so I'm just waiting to see like a trailer, what happens, what they call her especially. Then I'll make my decision. You can pluck her out of Japan and put her somewhere else as long as you change the entire context of the character. You can't make her Japanese, you can't make her act Japanese, you can't make her have a Japanese name. If they fix those things, like if they change the entire context, then I might be cool with this movie. But I'm gonna wait and see until like a trailer comes and maybe we'll get more of a sense of what the context is. But I totally understand why people are upset about that one. However, I don't think an Asian woman should be cast in the role just because it's a manga adaptation. I just think if they cast Scarlett Johansson to play a Japanese character, that is wrong. And I am so out. Anyway, I've talked a lot about other TV shows and movies and stuff, and a lot of other adaptations. Let's get back to business here. As far as Death Note goes, I don't mind it being like moved to the United States because I don't think Death Note was necessarily Japanese-centric. Sure, it was in Tokyo, it took place in Tokyo, but that could have been any city, really. There was nothing specific about Light, about Ryuk, about L, about Misa. There was nothing specific about each of them that screamed Japanese. It's not like they were wearing kimonos and using swords all the time like you would in Kenshin, for example. I think Death Note is a series that could do really well, not just in the US, but in most settings. It's basically a procedural with supernatural elements, which makes it really cool and creepy no matter who's watching it. And even the concept of Shinigami is not exclusively Japanese. Of course, the name is, but we have, you know, Grim Reapers in just about every culture, really. It's a concept that can be adapted, and I hope that's what they're doing. Like, if they had told me that the white dude who was cast is going to play like Yagami, I would be like, nope, out. But they changed his name, so it seems to me like they are actually taking the time to actually adapt the entire concept of the story and not just casting a white dude as a Japanese character. I don't think Death Note is culture specific, and that's why I'm actually kind of excited to see this adaptation. I think Death Note is one of those few anime that kind of blew my mind. Heard so many people talking about Death Note, they're like, you have to watch this, you have to watch this, and I'm not usually one for like the psychological thriller / horror genre. I'm not one for those, so I don't watch anime that are like downright supernatural most of the time. But I watched Death Note and it blew my mind. It's so good, and I think the United States could really benefit, like Hollywood could benefit from having something that scary and creepy but also just dark and psychological. And I think Netflix is doing really well with their darkest properties. For example, you have the Marvel series, you have a Daredevil, you have a Jessica Jones, which were so dark and creepy and deeply psychologically scary, and they did so well with those. So I trust Netflix for the most part. I trust that they're going to give it the tone that it deserves, and I trust that the adaptation is going to make sense. Like I said, it's not going to be just plucking one person into a role that he has no issue playing. They're actually taking the time to adapt the entire concept. I also kind of really like the cast. I've seen Nat Wolff, who's playing Light Turner. I saw him in The Fault in Our Stars, of course. I didn't see him in Paper Towns, but I know that he got some praise for the role, so I trust his talent, and I think he's going to do well in the role. I especially like him because both in The Fault in Our Stars and in Paper Towns, he was basically playing a good guy. Maybe that one slightly nerdy guy. Meanwhile, Light is a very meaty role. He's not just a nerd. I mean, he is the best in his class and he's really smart, he's into politics and stuff like that, but at the same time, he's really dark. So I'm really excited to see Nat Wolff sort of playing against type. I think he can do it. I think he's a talented young man, and I'm really looking forward to his performance because it will be very interesting to see a different side of Nat Wolff than we have seen before. And I think Light is an amazing character, you know, as crazy as he was and as scary as he was. Those are the characters that give actors their victories. So I look forward to seeing Nat Wolff and what he does with Light Turner. Then, apart from Nat Wolff, we have Keith Stanfield as L. I haven't seen any of his movies, but he was in The Purge Anarchy, he was in Selma, he was in Straight Outta Compton, and he's going to be in a movie that I'm really excited about, which is the Snowden movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm really looking forward to watching that one. I haven't seen any of his movies yet, but come on. With that resume, those movies have all been critically acclaimed, so he can't have sucked, right? And I really enjoy the idea of a black man being cast as L, because I mean, L is really weird, and I think if an Asian person had been cast in the role, it might have been a little bit even sort of insulting in a way, because L is really weird. But I think Stanfield can play L in a way that makes him still a little bit kooky, but also he is taken a bit more seriously, which I'm really looking forward to. And of course, there's the idea of a black man playing the good guy for once, rather than playing the villain. So I think that's a great thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I'm sure he's very talented. I can't speak for myself because I haven't seen any of these movies, but these have been great movies, applauded by both audiences and critics alike, so I think it's a good move for them to do that. Then you have Margaret Qualley as Mia Sutton, which I'm guessing is Misa. I don't know her, beautiful girl, like I can totally buy her as a pop star. So Misa, she's kind of annoying, let's just put it that way. So I don't mind if she's not that great of an actress, because that will help emphasize Misa's annoyingness. I don't know, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Misa, because again, in the series, she comes across as really whiny, and maybe they will give her more of an oomph in the Netflix movie, so I look forward to that. Then you have Paul Nakauchi as Watari and Shea Wiggum as James Turner, who is Light's dad, of course. I don't know anything about either of them, but I think their choices are interesting. I'm surprised that Watari's in the movie because I thought he wasn't going to make it, honestly. Obviously, he's important to Elle, but in the grand scheme of things, he's not like the most important of supporting characters. The dad, I'm really looking forward to because I can't see a lot of drama in that relationship right there. I also really highly approve of Adam Wingard as a director. Like I said, I'm not a horror person. I don't go watch horror movies, so I haven't really seen any of Wingard's films, but a lot of people who are way more into horror than me and who are way more into film like me and who are way more intelligent than me seem to have a very deep appreciation for Wingard's works. I mean, I've heard so many good things about It Follows. I will never watch it because I'm a scaredy cat like that, but I have seen nothing but praise for that film, so I'm stoked out of my mind that Wingard is directing this film because I know that he will make that movie so creepy. It's going to be out of this world, you guys. The only thing that I'm not entirely excited about is the writer, because I think it was written by the writer of Fantastic Four, which is immediately like, well, alarms going off in my head. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt just because I think that Wingard and Netflix are going to have such a strong hand on this. However, I am also kind of worried about how they're going to condense the entirety of Death Note, the series, into one movie. I haven't seen the Japanese versions of the Death Note series. I actually always really wanted to, but I keep forgetting. I will watch them before I watch this, of course. I haven't watched them, so I don't know how they did it, but obviously they aren't going so far into the series where you get like Mia and Mello, because we haven't heard any cast for them yet. So I would assume it's only like the first half or so that they're working with, and I'm wondering how they're going to do to make the movie feel complete at the point I expect it will be cut off. I won't spoil you if you haven't seen Death Note, but I'm really curious and kind of a little bit scared as to how they will do that, but hopefully they'll be able to work on it, put a lot of work into it, do something that they really believe in. And like I said, I trust Netflix. They haven't let me down yet with their original content, especially darker original content that they have in the Marvel series, for example, like Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I thought those were amazing. So I know that they know what they're doing. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I actually am really excited about Death Note. Have the cries of whitewashing made me doubt this movie? No, I don't think this is a case of whitewashing necessarily. I believe this is a case of adaptation. They're taking a movie from a Japanese context and moving it into a US based context. And they're actually doing it right because they're introducing some diversity to the cast as well. It's not just white people. And I don't mind as long as the context makes sense. So yeah, I'm actually kind of really excited about this in a way that I'm not for like Doctor Strange or Ghost in the Shell. I'm actually really excited for Death Note. I think it's going to be great. I expect that the Shinigami or the Grim Reapers are going to be CGI, I would assume. I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to voice them, so hopefully they will give some more casting announcements in the near future, because I believe this comes out in 2017, early 2017, so they have to start filming it pretty soon if it hasn't happened yet. So I'm looking forward to Death Note. Let me know, you guys, for example, if you're a Death Note fan, what you think of the news of the adaptation. What do you think of the cast? Are you looking forward to this movie? Will you watch it when it comes out? Tell me in a comment what you think. Also tell me, for example, what you think about adaptations of movies from one culture to the other, what you think of this whole whitewashing business that has been going down in Hollywood, which is so terrible. Which adaptations do you think have been great? Which adaptations have you not liked at all? Just comment below and tell me what you think about this topic at all. I look forward to your comments because I think this is a topic that will give a lot of people a lot to talk about, not just for Death Note, but in the future as well. Hollywood, please get on with it. Get on board with the times. Whitewashing shouldn't be a thing anymore. That's it for me. As usual, you can find me on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at girlsoweird with underscores between the words, and also on Tumblr at girlsoweird with hyphens between the words. You can find a Facebook page for Freaking Narnia at facebook.com/FreakingNarnia. And also remember to visit my main website at FreakingNarnia.com. All my videos are out there in case you want to catch up. And remember that I upload videos every Friday, but as I said earlier today, I'm going on a bit of a hiatus while I'm on vacation. I should be back somewhere around August 12th. Still, you might want to subscribe to my channel in case you haven't yet, because I might upload like little short snippets of videos about the stuff that I come across on my trip, if it's geeky at all. So you don't want to miss that, so please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. That's about it from me today. So I will see you guys in August when I come back with another topic. It might be something that's happening right now, or it might be something that hasn't happened yet. It might be something like Pokemon Go, which has taken over the world in like a week. I am starting to play it, but I never leave my house, so it goes really slow. For me, I have a few Pokemon and I'm on like level 4 or something. I'm so bad at this thing. Maybe in the time during my vacation I will have advanced a little bit more with Pokemon Go and I'll be able to talk about it, or it might just be one of the TV shows that I'm going to binge watch soon, like Game of Thrones or Orphan Black or whatever. I am going to binge watch those soon, hopefully during the trip, because you know, hours and hours on a plane. Yeah, binge watching sounds great in that case. So who knows what it is. If you have any suggestions, just drop them in a comment and let me know. If it's a topic that I am knowledgeable about and that is geeky enough, such as TV, movies, books, anything geeky really. If it's a subject that I know about, I will add it to my list of things to discuss. I always welcome suggestions, you guys, so please go ahead. And again, I leave you with one last piece of advice. If you find a suspicious looking notebook anywhere near you, just leave it there. It's healthier for you, or you know what, like burn it or something, because really you don't want to be anywhere near a Death Note. That's all I can say. That's it for me today, and I will see you guys later. And 2, he's always eating sweet with me, but I just wanted to guys, one particular like immediately like wow, 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 alarms going off in my head. Hollywood